wisdom. I am the Black Guru, what I offer is sage wisdom, and this is the Godfather Season 2, Episode 2, Reaction and Review. What's up, everybody? Smoking Aces, Shifu Lamar, Tim, Perp, LG, Angie, the big time Twitcher herself, Angie. And we're here to talk a little bit about Godfather of Harlem. Now, a lot of people are unfamiliar with this show. This show is criminally underrated. Quite honestly, it's criminally underrated. It's actually a very, very good show. I believe that this show is better than Snowfall. It's better than Snowfall. Why, might you ask? We'll talk about it throughout this review. But it's better than fucking Snowfall. I'm telling you that now. For a couple of reasons. But tonight's episode specifically kind of sets in motion the dynamics of season 2. It seems like we're going to have what Power was very good at it at first, doing a little bit of that strange bedfellow stuff, which is always good for storytelling. So we set up some strange bedfellow alliances. And ultimately, my thoughts on season 2 so far, considering episode 1 and episode 2, is that they did a good job of kind of resetting things, but not making things feel too different. So it feels like an extension of season 1. It doesn't seem like they're going places or they're doing things that are not significant, are not connected to season 1, but at the same time allowing some of those season 1 plot lines to resolve themselves naturally. So those are just kind of my overall thoughts on this show. I want to take a look at the beginning here. So we start off with Bumpy meeting the French guy, asking for the connection, saying, hey man, he's implementing his 10 Harlems plan. And that 10 Harlems plan is pretty wise, I think, saying, hey, we can buy 300 fucking keys from your ass. But they said, you know what? We got the Sicilians. They not going to sell to us if we sell into a black dude. It's just not going down that way. So he like, fuck. So what he ultimately understands is that he's going to need an Italian to be his front man, which creates the opportunity for the strange bedfellas. But I may use that term a few more times. What strange bedfellas really is a bit of a literary technique in which you put two people who really are not supposed to be with one another. Now they have a common enemy or they have a common thing. So you have two kind of opposite characters or even warring characters, and they have to work together to resolve an issue. That's just one of those old literary techniques that simply work when you do them right. And Power did a lot of that, but the problem with Power is that they went to that well a few too many times with the strange bedfellas stuff, to where the bedfellas didn't seem strange how much they were going back to it. But we've seen that in Dragon Ball Super, where Goku had to work with Frieza. We've seen that throughout literature and television and film, where seemingly enemies or people who really don't fit together have to work together to resolve an issue. So Bumpy basically is under the impression that, hey, I gotta go do this shit. I gotta go find me an Italian to represent me so I can put together my 10 Harlems plan. So he brings in the other quote unquote 9 Harlems, and has a little bit of a pep rally to let them know the plan, to let them know what they're doing. Now, this is one thing that Snowfall does that they did in this scene, but it was still better because it was cinematically better in my opinion. But Snowfall does a lot of that shit where they meet in alleyways and under bridges and behind warehouses and at lakes and they do that shit so much. That's probably 60-75% of the setting of Snowfall is fucking under bridges and behind warehouses. What up, Cobra? That shit's crazy. It just gives you this weird feel. And in a comparison between Snowfall and Godfather of Harlem, the fact that a lot of the stuff on Godfather of Harlem takes place on the streets, you feel like you're in Harlem. Surprise, surprise. It feels like Harlem. But a lot of the stuff that takes place in Snowfall doesn't feel like you're in South Central LA until you see some palm trees and some things like that. But other than that, it doesn't feel like South Central LA. It feels like it could be anywhere. But anyway, Method Man. Method Man, his ass is getting some checks. He's popping up everywhere lately. He's on Power. He's doing verses. He's on Godfather of Harlem. If you need a gangster, if you need a gangster sidekick, motherfucker, call up Method Man. But I love Method Man. Every time I've seen him act, he's always been great. He's a world class actor in my opinion, especially when he plays these roles. But he's here, kind of leading the helm of the 10 Harlem plan. After last week's heist where they stole all the dope, he suggests that maybe we should just keep the motherfucking dope. Kind of insinuating the fact that Bumpy's plan is probably the best plan, but we ain't just gung ho. There's a few reservations, and that was mentioned tonight too. We got a few kind of characters. We get this guy. He's kind of looking kind of shifty. I don't know if he's 100% behind it. He sees the money and the potential, but I don't know if he's 100% behind it. No fall too, but that was D-Ray, yeah. Oh, D-Ray ass. So I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, oh, okay. So it seems like we're going to get some tension. There was another guy who was like, yeah, as long as you on top, Bumpy. And he was like, well, yeah, and if I'm the king, then you the Joker. So I guess there's going to be some friction, I believe, with the 10 Harlem's plan. It's not 100% locked in at this point because everybody's not 100% with it. We cut to Brother Malcolm having a conversation with one of my favorite people in the whole world, for those who know me, Muhammad Ali. It looks like the actor who played Muhammad Ali been in the gym. I don't think he was this swole last year, but his ass been doing some fucking curls and some push-ups because he definitely got it together to play Muhammad Ali. One thing about actors who play Ali, I've never seen an actor play Ali very good. The closest we've ever seen was Will Smith, but they always got to do his poetry. They always have to do his song and dance. They always have to recite him. It's just kind of an awkward thing, like to play somebody, but always kind of do their pomp and circumstance versus actually a real version of them. But anyway, the important part about this scene is that Malcolm is basically getting in contact with Cassius, but Cassius is about to fight Liston, which is a great way to frame this episode, and we'll get to that later. But he's about to fight Liston, and Cassius wants he wants Malcolm X to be there. And Malcolm is thinking, hey, I want to be there for my friend, but at the same time, this might be my way back into the nation. So he's kind of got a little bit of duplicity going on. We get the brothers meeting again for the first time this season. They're basically chopping it up. Because remember, they old street dudes. Malcolm's an old street dude too. And they talk about some of the old street plays they might have to use. So I do like when these two get on screen because they do kind of play off one another very well. One interesting thing about this scene is that Bumpy says, I'm going to need to find an Italian. I'm going to have to find my Cassius. And then we cut to Chin. Is it Chin? Chin's kind of punching the bag and he's fucking pissed. And I love Chin's character, honestly. I love him as a character. I don't like him, but I like how he plays that character. He's obnoxious. He's annoying. He don't give a fuck about Bumpy Johnson. He's always dropping those M-bombs. So I just, he feels legit to me. He feels like a legit 1960s Italian mobster in that role and being in Harlem. So I always like that. One of my favorite actors, ladies and gentlemen. One of my favorite actors. This is probably my second favorite role of his. He's playing Clayton Powell. Gus. I always call him Gus. I'm sorry, y'all. I know his real name, but I always call him Gus. Gus from Breaking Bad is reprising his role, and he's becoming more of a centralized figure in this season. He's talking to I believe this was an FBI. This was a lawyer. Yeah, he's a lawyer. And what these lawyers are in a DA, like an investigator or something. And he's trying to put together a case against the mob. He's going after the mob wholeheartedly. And he's very serious. He's a no nonsense kind of guy, and he's going after the mob 100%. And that's going to be an important story moving forward because it's going to put the pressure on, you know, the things that everybody's doing. So we get Bumpy's wife is also talking to Pal about leading up the voter registration. I don't really know where this storyline is going, and I'm reminded that didn't didn't she sleep with somebody in last season's episode? Last season, I wasn't reminded about that until this scene here. I was like, didn't she do a little something something last year? I think she slept with one of the boxers or something. It was something going on. She did something strange, and I forgot about that shit. I think y'all remind me what she did. I didn't think about that shit until this scene. I'm like, she did a little something, something, something last year. Do we ever get a resolution? It was Jack Johnson. Was it Jack Johnson? Oh no, she did a little something, something, something. But nah, but she's a great actor, and I like her character on the show. And this stuff with Pal, I'm not really interested with yet. I don't know where it's going, but it just it's on the lower tier of plot lines that I'm interested in. It was Doug Jones, okay. So the majority of the episode is spent with Bumpy going around to the different Italians trying to get what up, Key? Trying to get a deal done so he can have an Italian represent him to the Sicilians, or through the French guy to the Sicilians, so he can put his 10 Harlems plan together. And I'll talk about that later. So he's playing chess with his old friend. He's able to outmaneuver him on the chessboard and basically suggesting, how about, you be my representative. And what his Italian homie is saying is like, nah, I just can't do it. I got grandkids. I got too much going on. I can't really be mixed up. My job is just to smooth things out. I can't be mixed up in no shit like that. So that was a fail. We get Malcolm's wife more this season, and I'm glad she's in this more. I'm liking her character, not because she's doing anything dynamic, but she's really kind of grounding Malcolm and presenting a home life for Malcolm. So he's not just a stereotypical character. He's the Malcolm X we all know and love. Exactly, Betty Shabazz. Thank you. I'm glad we're getting Betty Shabazz this year because it kind of rounds Malcolm out. So he's not just fight the power, that sort of guy. We're also seeing a home Malcolm. And through Bumpy Johnson, we see a street Malcolm to a certain extent, or just the acknowledgement of his past. So I'm loving the dynamics that they bring around Malcolm X in this show. So he's basically ready to go to Miami. He's opening up the plan to Betty, and Betty's like, man, just stay home, bro. Your family, you've been around more. Just stay home and be a father. Fuck all that shit right now. And she was very adamant about that too. One of my favorite scenes. One of my favorite scenes on tonight's episode. She told, she being Bumpy's daughter, told Bumpy's wife tonight about that child. And she said, I'm going to play the sister right now. But we ain't going to keep doing this sister shit. I'm going to eventually become her mom again. I'm going to reveal myself as the mom. So keep that in mind. While you sitting up here playing house with my motherfucking daughter, it's best right now for me to play back because of some shit popping. But I definitely intend to raise my daughter. So this friction between these two is still there from last season. And I want to see how this is resolved ultimately. I definitely want to see how this is resolved. So that's some of my favorite stuff from last season that's carried on. Again, we got Bumpy going around asking questions, asking to see if any Italian person will represent him. He asked my guy here, I forget his name, but I do like him as a character. He's my favorite, one of my favorite Italian mobsters in this show. But he doesn't want to do it. Like he said, I just can't simply represent you. We on some different shit. I can't represent no black people like that. So sorry, buddy. So he gets turned down again, once more. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad calls up Cassius to say, hey, Cassius, stay your motherfucking ass away from Malcolm. Malcolm is doing things the wrong way. Stay away. Bornano, that's his name, Tim Bornano. Yeah, Bornano. He was like, yeah, I can't fuck with your black ass. Basically, and really, no uncertain terms, he said, hey, I can't fuck with your black ass. So we get the Honorable Elijah Muhammad here. I like the guy who plays his, that's a good casting. Interesting element here. We get the prosecutor from earlier trying to get Bumpy Johnson to snitch. Basically work as an informant so they can watch him and the mob, and they gave him immunity, saying, hey, you can keep the money, you can do whatever you want, use a small fry, we going after the mob. So they offered that to him and he turned it down. I don't know Bumpy to be a snitch like that. But he turned that shit down. He said, nah, that's still snitching, man. I can't do that. And they offered him full immunity from the past shit and moving forward. So it was a hell of a deal on the table if he was going to kind of rat out, but he didn't become a rat. So, and this is what I wanted to get to. This stuff with the little girl right now, 2 episodes in, and it's just not doing it for me. This is when I yawn. This is when I run to the restroom. This is when I, go fix up a little water or something. Because this shit here, I'm just like, I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm over it. Your little boyfriend got killed, baby. Get over it. Get over it. I'm not emotionally invested in her to be going through her pain. She tried to kill herself in last week's episode. Yeah, I'm just not, this is not it for me. Yeah, Jay, this is when I do, I run to the restroom, get up and take the clothes out the dryer and put them in the fucking, and put them up or something. I don't get into this shit. This whole storyline is DOA for me, and I wish they would just move on. I'm over her. Maybe they can get her involved in some other shit, and quite honestly, whatever they get her involved in, I may not be interested in. Don't quote me on that. I may change my mind, but as of right now, she's just a nothing burger. I'm not emotionally invested in nothing that's going on. I don't care about her motherfucking tears. I'm just over it. I'm over it with her. Brother Malcolm goes to the training facility to meet up with Cassius. Dundee tell him, hey, slow your ass down. Dundee being Malcolm's trainer. He says, slow your ass down, man. Y'all got this man thinking this and thinking that, and we got to keep him focused on this fight right now. So y'all can't be all in, all these sorts of distractions. So yeah, what black mother would be sympathetic to her, right? I'm just tired. Like, it's doing nothing for me. It's my least favorite storyline of the show. Again, shout out to Muhammad Ali, my guy. I like how they mix the real footage with the television footage, with the casting and show footage. I like how they do that because there's a bit of a authenticity and there's a bit of education. We're talking 1964. So there's, some people watching may have never seen this stuff before. You may have never seen Muhammad Ali, what he really looks like and everything like that. So I like them using that mix to kind of educate in a very subtle way, or just inform, present, I should say, some moments of that time. And while I'm here, I want to talk about why I think this show is better than Snowfall, because there's one thing it does very, very well. We have to remember that Snowfall is also a timepiece. It's also a story that's set in a past time. And Godfather of Harlem does a much, much better job portraying 1964 Harlem than Snowfall does of 1985 Los Angeles. A lot of the times when you watch Snowfall, you don't really realize you're in 1985, bro. You don't really realize that. A lot of the clothes, even the clothes that Franklin wears, and he's always wearing a jacket or some sort of stuff that's not stylish. They may show a guy coming with the hip hop dookie chain and some shell toes and stuff. You may get a character here or there, but nobody's really dressed like 1985 in a stylistic way. You know, you just don't get the feel of 1985. You get a lot of those box Chevys and stuff like that, but you know, I think The Godfather of Harlem does a way better job making you truly feel like you're in 1964 when you're watching the show. It truly feels like that in almost every aspect of it. So that's one thing. So we get this here. This is a little shaky for me, but you know, Bumpy walks into Chin's spot, and he does a fake raid. This is a very bold move. Bumpy's been very, very bold this last two episodes. He's been bold as fuck. But he walks in and he does a fake FBI raid and a fake warrant, and they fake arrest Bumpy, and then they fake arrest Chin. And then he says, you know, I did that just to kind of scare him and let him know that, hey, I got power. And if I can get you some protection, then maybe you'll work with me and be my representative. You know, Bumpy finally came to the conclusion that, well, damn, I've asked everybody else, all the other Italians, nobody's going to fuck with me. I guess I got to go to Chin. So this is where we get our strange bedfellow set up. It's not the strongest thing I've ever seen, but you know, let's just see how it goes. It's a little clumsy, in my opinion. It's a little clumsy as far as, because Chin hates Bumpy. I mean, he fucking hates him. And I understand why Bumpy will go down there and try to do this deal, but I really don't understand why Chin would, quite honestly, because he hates him more than anybody. Like, personally hates him. Everybody else turned Bumpy down based on principle. Like, hey, man, we're not supposed to work with Negroes, or, hey, man, you know, I got family involved. It's just, you know, it's not good business for me to do it. Fuck, Chin hates his ass. Like, I hate Bumpy. Fuck the black part. I just hate you. So for him to say, you know, I'm going to think about business, or I'm going to try to make 3, 4, 5, 10 times more money dealing with you, I don't see Chin putting his personal angst over Bumpy to the side for money, because even last week's episode where they had stole the 500 keys, he said, fuck the dope, let's just kill Bumpy. He was the only one who voted to kill Bumpy and said, fuck the dope money. And everybody else say, nah, we taking the money, bro. We can't be playing like that. But he didn't care. So I just don't see why, you know, his freedom is on the line. Him being free is on the line. So I don't know how much he's concerned about going to jail. You know, because that's the impotence here, is that, hey, he might go to jail if things don't go right. And maybe Bumpy can keep him out of jail. But I just don't see that enough for him to work with Bumpy, because he really hates him. But we'll see how it all pans out. So like I said, we get the fake raid, the fake ruin. There's a great line here. He said, I'll be out by tonight, but I don't know if yo ass. He didn't say yo ass, though. He should have said yo ass, though. I don't know if yo ass is going to be out tonight. So then we get this scene here. Like I said, I think I went and grabbed some water here, but the little boy's mom from the first season meets up with the daughter, and she's basically like, I was throwing them letters out, I wasn't fucking with them, and I finally got the courage to read them. And she ultimately ends this scene by saying something to the effect of, how can somebody, you know, who loved my son be an enemy? She ultimately, you know, says that as she leaves this scene. Like I said, this whole storyline is DOA for me. It's doing nothing for me. I think it may be here to appeal to women, you know, the emotional storyline of a girlfriend, a mother, and boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. So maybe it's there. Maybe it appeals to women. I don't know. Maybe that's why it's there, and maybe it works. And if it does, okay. But for me, it's just giving me nothing. It's just giving me nothing. It almost seems like left fieldish to the rest of the story. Even the love story in season 1 didn't give me nothing. So that's part of the reason why I don't like it either, because even the little black boy being with her in season 1, I didn't like that. It just never did anything for me. I just didn't really care about that. But it gave what it gave. You know, she's all looking, I wrote these letters. His music was more than his voice. It was his touch. It was the way he looked. It was in his feel. All right. All right. I guess for those who do not know, I am the Black Guru. What I offer is sage wisdom. Follow the Black Guru if you don't already, and keep those hearts flying. Hearts in the chat. So ultimately, we finish up tonight's episode by Clayton basically allowing Bumpy's wife to come into his campaign board and lead his voter registration. And we'll see where that storyline goes. Like I said, right now, it's not a hot storyline for me, but it may become that. We get Malcolm. He meets up with Cassius before the fight. And he basically prays with him. And he's really one of the only people in his corner. And this is something that people don't talk about, which is true. Because I've seen this shit on documentaries. Nobody thought Muhammad was going to beat Liston. Nobody thought Cassius Clay was going to be Sonny Liston. Like, if you walked around, they literally took a camera around to barbershops, diners, people on the street. They said, who you got? Everybody said Liston, black people included. Everybody said Liston was going to win. Nobody gave Cassius a chance. That's why when he won, he said he shook up the world. That's why he said that. I must be the greatest. That's why he said all of that shit, because nobody gave him a chance. We look back at it now and we say, oh, Muhammad's the best and he's the great. But before that fucking Liston fight, shit, everybody said, man, I hate this little loudmouth boy. He gonna get his ass whooped by Liston. But what was funny is that a lot of the people thought Muhammad was gonna get his ass whooped until the weigh-in, right before the fight. And a lot of people looked when they were standing in front of each other, like face to face at the weigh-in. They said, wait a second, this kid is about 5 inches taller than him. He got him about 6-7 inches on reach. They look like, damn, now Cassius Clay ain't no fucking punk now. You know what I'm saying? Like, they finally looked at each other head to head, and you look at Cassius and like, whoa, this is a big ass kid now. This ain't no, he talk a lot of shit, and they know he was a young man, because remember, Cassius was the youngest heavyweight champion ever at the time before Tyson took that mantle. But when they finally met face to face in front of each other, people looked like, whoa, wait a second now. Cassius is a big ass kid compared to Liston. But so we get to that ultimately, and then we see the fight. Again, I like how they mixed some of the footage in the ring. They shot some of it on camera, and they mixed some of the real life footage. So you're seeing this go back and forth. Love how they did that. Absolutely loved it. And at the same time, they're cutting that with a fight between Chin and Bumpy in an old parking lot playground as they work out a deal. It was very cinematic. Wasn't very realistic, but it was very cinematic, and I enjoyed the cinematography of that whole sequence. And I get the narrative story of Bumpy kind of fighting as Ali, Chin kind of fighting as Liston, as they fight each other to work out this business deal, and they're kind of fighting out their differences and stuff. I get it cinematically. It's just not the most realistic thing I've ever seen. But I think the Godfather of Harlem has wanted to tell a more cinematic story. So they like to do little artistic stuff like this. So they know he talked a lot of shit, but they saw him in person and knew he could back that shit up. This part made zero fucking sense. Chin decided to do the deal right after he got his ass whooped. If you want to lose your money, bet on Sonny. Yeah, that was a crazy scene though. Yeah, it was a great scene. But it's just not very realistic. Let's just be honest. It's just not very realistic. It works on camera, but it's just not very realistic. They set it up nicely with Chin kind of hitting the punching bag earlier, juxtaposing that to the Muhammad Ali situation. So it's great in a storytelling sense, and I can actually give them credit for that because it adds a few different layers to what's going on. But ultimately, it's just not very realistic as far as these two working together, finally getting in bed with one another. I like the scene though, quite honestly. I like the rain and the everything, but it's just, we'll see how this strange bedfellow thing works out with the 10 Harlem. So that is my Godfather of Harlem review. Again, I think it's better than Snowfall in a few places. I think they do a better job with the storytelling in regards to time. I think the characters are way more dynamic as far as the acting is better on here than on Snowfall. I think the dialogue is better on here than on Snowfall. And I hate to compare it to Snowfall, but when you start talking kind of black crime dramas, they all kind of get compared. You know, Power got compared to other shit. Snowfall got compared to The Wire. They all kind of get compared to one another. So even though they're different shows, there's similarities. And I feel like Godfather of Harlem's interpersonal stories are better felt and more attractive, basically, than some of the interpersonal stuff they do on Power. So those are my thoughts on season 2, episode 2 of Godfather of Harlem. For those who do not know, I am the Black Guru. What I offer is sage wisdom. Follow the Black Guru right here on Twitch, on Twitter, and everywhere in between. Everywhere you can find the Black Guru. I will be live tomorrow to discuss a few of the goings-ons of the world we live in. So I appreciate you guys' time, and I catch you guys on the flip side. One love.